Hello everybody, it's your favorite YouTuber here, Darth Vader Chess, back with another video, and today we have an exciting one. It's the Fide Candidates 2026, round 2 has just concluded, with Fabiano, Praggnanandhaa and Sindarov in the lead. This is an interesting game I'm going to show you. This is round 3, Sindarov versus Praggnanandhaa. So let me stop talking and let's enjoy some chess. Okay. Praggnanandhaa with the white pieces, Javokhir with the black pieces, and Pragg opens up with one, pawn to d4. The queen's pawn opening is on the board. Javokhir responds pawn to d5. We have pawn to c4, the queen's gambit, and we have pawn to e6, declining the gambit. We have knight to c3, the queen's knight variation of the queen's gambit decline, and we have bishop to e7. Javokhir chooses the not so popular Charosek variation. He chose this opening maybe to catch Pragg off guard and take him out of his prep, but Pragg doesn't seem to be caught out of his prep and continues immediately with knight to f3. We have knight to f6 and we have bishop to f4, the Harwitz attack. Castle kingside by Javokhir, pawn to e3 and the immediate pawn to c5, now attacking in the center. Sorry about that, now attacking in the center. We have d captures c5, bishop captures c5, and pawn to a3. We have knight to c6, queen to c2, rook to e8, and bishop to g5, now putting a pin on the knight. And Pragg burned some good 4 minutes to make this move, so we can now say that he is out of his prep. Javokhir plays pawn to d4, attacking the knight and the pawn on e3, and he burned 8 minutes, so we can now also say that he is out of his prep too. We have bishop captures f6, queen captures, and knight to e4, attacking the queen and the bishop. So Javokhir plays queen to f5, pinning the knight, and we have pawn to b5, attacking the bishop. This is where Sindarov does an interesting move. He doesn't decide to play safe and retreat the bishop and play passively like bishop to e7 or bishop to f8. He instead decides to sacrifice the knight for the 2 pawns, which is fairly bold and aggressive. So we have knight captures b4, a captures b4, and bishop captures b4 with check. We have king to d1, so now the king can't castle anymore. D captures e3, bishop to d3, threatening some nasty discoveries like knight to d6, hitting both the queen and the rook, and simultaneously the bishop hitting the queen as well. So Javokhir plays queen to g6, threatening the g2 pawn, and we have f captures e3. Now the g2 pawn is covered by the queen. Pawn to f5, attacking the knight, knight to g3, and bishop to c5, attacking that e3 pawn. And here we have queen to c3, sacrificing the e3 pawn, and this is an inaccuracy by Pragg. It's not a blunder, but the engine would have preferred Pragg to keep the pawn by either playing pawn to e4, putting pressure on that f5 pawn, or by playing rook to e1, just simply defending that e3 pawn. But Pragg decides to sacrifice it and play queen to c3. Sindarov doesn't capture immediately and plays pawn to e5, threatening pawn to e4, which would attack both the bishop and the knight. So Pragg plays bishop to c2. We have pawn to e4 hitting the knight, knight to d2, and rook to e8, now pinning the knight. We have king to c1, unpinning the knight from the rook, and queen to g5, now attacking the e3 pawn with both the bishop and the queen. So we have rook to e1, adding another defender to that e3 pawn, and Javokhir decides to remaneuver the queen with queen to e7, threatening bishop to b4, which will result in the knight on d2 being lost. So we have rook to e2, adding another defender to that knight, but this is an inaccuracy Pragg should have either played queen to b2 or rook to d1. So we have bishop to b4, now attacking the queen, queen to b2, and knight to b3. We have pawn to a5, adding another defender to that bishop, knight to b3, and a nice rook lift of rook to a6. We have knight to d4, centralizing the knight, queen to g5, king to b1, and pawn to h5. We have king to a2, freeing up the a1 rook, pawn to h4, attacking the knight, knight to f1, bishop to d7, rook to d1, and rook to c8, attacking that c4 pawn. But you can't capture that pawn immediately, as the bishop would just pin it on b3, as the king is on g8. We have knight b to d2, adding a defender to that c4 pawn anyway. Rook to b6, now the rook is on the same file as the queen. We are now on move 32. These players have to make 8 more moves to reach additional time control and get increment, and they both have less than 8 minutes on the clock, meaning they have to make each move in a couple of seconds, and they don't have even a minute to think for each move. And due to this time pressure, Praggnanandhaa makes a huge blunder. He plays pawn to c5, sacrificing the pawn. I don't know what Pragg's idea was behind this move, but with such a blunder, Javokhir is sure not to miss his opportunity. So he takes it with both hands and he plays rook captures c5. We have queen to b3 with check. As you can see, Pragg burned 2 minutes realizing c5 was a mistake. A simple king to h8 to get the king out of danger. And here we have the final lethal blunder of the game, queen to f7. And now there's only one winning move in the position for Sindarov. I would like to give you, the viewers, a couple of seconds to find this move. You should see this move, as it's pretty easy. Have you found it? It's the beautiful rook captures c2 with check. And the knight can't recapture, because then the knight would leave the e6 square vulnerable and the bishop would be able to come to e6 with a check and pick up that f7 queen. So Pragg plays king to b1. We have rook captures d2, and bishop captures d2 with check. We have king to a2, bishop captures e3, even allowing white to capture the d7 bishop because black's position is winning by a mile. Bishop captures d4, and queen captures d4. And we have queen to f6, and it was in this position on move 40 that Praggnanandhaa resigned the game, as there is nothing to be done here. Black is up 4 pawns. And those pawns will eventually march down to the board to promote queens, and black would eventually win the game. A beautiful high pressure game by Sindarov, making hardly any mistakes and punishing Pragg's mistakes immediately, giving him no room to breathe. Sindarov takes the lead after round 3, and now we just have to see if Fabiano will join him, or will he be the sole leader going into round 4. Please subscribe to my channel, Darth Vader Chess. Please like the video and comment your thoughts on the game, as this will help push my video out so that more people can see it. Until next time, it's Darth Vader Chess, and I'm out. Peace.